like I said, we're starting with the Arm-In Guillotine today. Just full disclosure, I'm also really bad at this technique, so this is going to be a lot of practice for me too. So if you're noticing I'm not getting it perfect all the time, there's a reason for that. I'm bad at it. Just general mechanics. So we're just going to be going over mechanics and escapes for the Arm-In Guillotine. There's a couple of points. I've been reviewing a lot of videos from especially people like Craig Jones on the Arm-In Guillotine. The main point I think everyone needs to keep in mind is we're starting from here, and my hand is right now on a chin strap. And when I just kind of turn around, so actually I can just use the other hand. How about that? Yeah. So when we're doing the Arm-In Guillotine, we're starting from a chin strap position, and what I'm going to be doing for the choking mechanic is moving my arm forward and kind of pushing the area with my thumb into this area. So it's coming from the chin over here to where the arteries would be. Okay? And the main choking mechanic, most of the guillotine variations that I generally am better at, the mechanic comes from you're basically kind of crunching in, putting his neck down, and you've got that nice tight grip around his neck, and that's cutting off the circulation here. With the Arm-In Guillotine, it's more, you're bringing your hands together and you're kind of spooning and scooping into the throat with this thumb area. As I understand it as well, that's one of the reasons this one is a bit harder to finish than some other guillotine variations, because it's just you felt the normal guillotine that we've done all the time. It's a very mechanically strong position to do a guillotine in. And with the Arm-In Guillotine, it relies a lot more on muscle and this kind of a scooping movement, which makes it, I don't want to say a weak position, but it's more muscle, less mechanics. You have less bone and position coming into play. Not to say that's not important, but the big mechanic is this scooping motion with your hands. So just want to point that out from the beginning. So when we're doing the Arm-In Guillotine then, so we're here, like I said, we're moving our hand here, and I like to grab kind of here about at the wrist so that I get that part of my hand protruding nice and well. I think if you do it like this, you kind of weaken your mechanics. So I'm not grabbing like this, I'm kind of grabbing one-sided so that that thumb part of my hand protrudes really well. And when I'm going in, first of all, I want to have it nice and deep on his head. If I can see sort of this part of his head, he's probably going to be able to pull his head out. Okay? So, and then the next part, we're going to start with just from the closed guard. So, yeah, you go right here, and that's going to be the most likely situation for me. So I come into the closed guard, and I want to fall on the same hip as the one I'm doing the guillotine with, okay? I don't want to be flat on my back with this. And from here, I need to, a lot of people will pull their upper body away. I want to crunch in, and that's what gives me my choke. So I'm not pulling away like this, I'm crunching. Because again, if I pull away like this, I'm going to expose the back of his head, and he's going to be able to pull his head out. And that's the last thing I want. So I'm not going to do the full crunch, I'm not going to do the full choke, but I'm going to crunch in a little bit, try to pull your head out. Okay? So, again, I need to do this nice and clean, because again, I'm bad at this choke. So, I'm just going to come in here, I'm on my side, and then crunch in a little, try to pull your head out. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I was about to say. That when you've got the head, back of the head covered really well, and you can't see the back of his head, the whole mechanic works in that I'm crunching his own body in like this into my hand while I'm doing that scooping motion. And if he tries to pull his head out, that's going to cause him to kind of move his head in this arching motion, and he actually makes the choke worse But again, only if I've got the back of his head covered. If I don't have the back of his head covered, if I can see this part of his head, so let me do this incorrectly as an example. So if it's like this, now can we go? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you can see the back of his head, he's going to be able to pull his head out nine times out of 10. Okay? So, we'll just practice that one entry right now. Again, just work on trying to get the tap as efficient as possible. So, like I said, yeah.
What do you do with the arms? Do you like
just keep his head nice and pinched. And like I said, you're doing the scooping motion, like you're scooping ice cream. Yeah. So yeah, I know it's a dumb metaphor, but I'm just like I'm kind of coming in here, laying here. I'm trying to keep his head tight so he can't pull his head out, and scooping in. Yeah. Scooping in. Yeah, but I'm not doing this. I'm trying to keep everything nice and tight because the worst thing that can happen for me is he pulls his head out. Okay? So, well, we're a nice number, so I'll be practicing with everyone because again, I'm bad at this one too and I want to work on it. I think everyone's getting the choke somewhat efficiently now. I just wanted to point out something I'm seeing everyone doing when you're going into your closed guard. So I'm seeing kind of everyone, they get a good position, they get a good arm lock, and everyone's kind of falling onto the back and moving over to the side. Not necessarily bad, but you can remove a step. So, same entry, I pull in, I come up, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this leg basically to the side and fall directly onto this side. And that puts me directly in the position that I want to be in. That's going to be important later when we're doing escapes, because when you're doing the escapes, one of your main points is to make sure he cannot go on that side. So if you lay on your back, you're giving him half the work.
Can I see it once?
Oh yeah. So, just to give the contrast, most people are coming up here, laying in the closed guard, and then sort of moving to the side. Oh, sorry. It's getting better. I didn't even want to choke him. What I want to see everyone do, same entry, we're here, stand up, and now I just fall directly. Yeah. Okay. Because again, when we start doing the escapes, that's going to be my #1 priority, is making sure you do not fall on that side. So if you're automatically falling here and trying to move, that's adding an extra step and giving me more chances to block your choke. Okay? So, that was the closed guard. Now, the more common variation of the Arm-In Guillotine in terms of which guard you're using is the half guard. It's just easier to get a half guard than a full guard. It's just generally the way it works. So, underneath. So, I'm pretty sure some of you are probably thinking it might be easier to get a half guard instead of a closed guard when you were working on the last one. So, same entry, same everything. It's just instead of falling on my side and bringing my foot all the way out here, I just bring my foot between his legs. Yeah. Everything else is the same. The only difference is instead of bringing this foot out here and wrapping it around him, I'm bringing it between his legs, and I'm trying to get a nice, and again, this is going to be important for later. You don't want to go too deep. Okay? This is going to be important for later when we do escapes. You want to go about ankle deep.
But I need to lock this leg.
Yeah.
So you can roll
but you don't have the full half guard.
what I mean is I was sticking like that before, so not half guard.
Yeah.
Like that, and it felt okay, but
yeah.
Somehow I'm missing something.
Yeah. You've got to have that. You've got to have your ankle on his calf, basically, and the other foot is on his back. Okay. So So what you're basically wanting to make sure you do is, because again, the escapes, if I had the choke on this side, he's going to want to escape to where it's open. It's open on this side, so I need this hook to keep him from running out. So if I don't have the hook, then he just, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, and then when I have the hook so that if he tries, yeah. Okay? Everything else is exactly the same. Choking mechanics, scooping into the throat, crunching. The rest is the same. The only difference is I've got a hook on his leg instead of around his body. Everything else is the same. Like I was saying, the best option if you're trying to do the Arm-In Guillotine is to get the close guard. You just have more control, but the more common version you're most likely going to land is in the half guard, just because it is easier by nature to get a half guard than the close guard. I think you've all had that in sparring as well. When you're sparring with someone, getting half guard is pretty easy. That's kind of like the note solution whenever someone's about to pass your guard. Just grab a quick half guard and go from there. Getting a close guard is harder. Okay? So, again, just a little practice and then we'll go to escapes. So, I think the chokes in the close guard and the half guard are starting to look good. I think everyone's throat is starting to get nice and raw. So, I don't think we're going to have time for all of the escapes today. There are three main ones I want to make sure we can go through, but I think we're only going to get through one today. I'm going to do the rest of them on Saturday, and I'll do a repeat on Sunday for the people who can't make it on Saturday, so that everyone gets a chance to see the escapes. But we're going to start with the worst case scenario for me. Okay, so he gets his arm in, and he gets his full guard. Okay.
So the worst case scenario for me. So if you do that,
just so I can explain. So we were talking earlier that it's important for him to be on his side, on the same side that he's choking me with. So like I always say, an escape is always wanting to do the opposite of anything your opponent wants to do. So since he wants to be on this side, my first priority is to put him flat on his back. That's not going to completely take away any choking danger, but it is going to give you a lot more time, because the mechanics of this choke specifically are going to be a lot weaker if he's flat on his back than if he's on his side. So the way I do that, again, the way I'm going to do that is I'm not going to try pushing. What I'm going to do is take my arm and basically push him over here. And if I can get him actually more on his opposite side, that's even better for me. Okay? So that's going to be my first step. It's almost like what I've shown some people in terms of how to open the throat for the triangle. But instead of using it to keep my shoulder out, what I'm doing is I'm pushing on his hips with my bicep. Because if I push like this, I think that's a bit of a weaker position for me, because I just don't have a lot of power in that position. If I take my arm, especially if I can grab the other hand, and then just pull it over here, that's a much stronger action for me. And if I can't grab my own hand, what I can do is at the very least, like, put my hand in my own thigh, and I can use that to push him over. Okay? So that's going to be our step one, is we push the hips over so that he is square to me and flat on his back. That's step one. Step two is I'm going to need to get height, okay? Because, again, he wants to crunch my body down. So if my hips are low, that's going to be easier for him. So my first priority then, my second priority after squaring the hips is going to be getting my hips up and trying to put my body in a straight alignment. Again, doesn't remove all the danger, but gives me more time to escape. So, what that would look like is come here, come here, and now I try Pada. Yes. You can probably hear it on my voice. It sounds a lot less stressed, right? I don't sound like my voice is a lot clearer now. I've got his hips blocked, and I've got my head kind of straight. So from here, we try. We tripod up, we tripod up. Now I bring my legs in, hand on the knee, and I bounce. And from here, and once you get into the side control, again, it's not a pleasant position. He can still crank on your neck and everything, it won't be pleasant, but the choking danger is gone. Once you get into that side control position, he's lost his contact with your arteries, and you're able much more easily, as you just saw, to just pull your head up. You just basically brace on him, pull your head up. Having long hair helps, it gives you a bit of a lubricant. Or you make sure you get nice and sweaty. Sometimes before a tournament, I'll make sure I do some jump ropes or something so I get nice and sweaty and I just kind of slide out of everything. So just a couple of trade secrets. But the main points are square the hips, square his hips. Actually, I'll do it without you just so I can show the steps. I gotta make myself pretty, just a second. So, we're assuming he gets his Arm-In Guillotine. He brings us down. First step, I bring this arm in and square his hips to me. And then I bring my hips up. And use that to straighten my body. I'm literally tripoding on my head. And from here, I bring the feet together, hand on the hip, and I bounce down. If you just try to push, especially if the guy is strong, you're not going to be able to get the closed guard out. You need to add that little bounce, that little impact. Really, it loosens the hips a bit. It loosens the grip a bit and helps you push him down. So, again, pull him over from here. And once you get it up here, you come over and then into your side control. Okay, show it one more time. Or do you want to see it?
I think it looks good.
Okay, got it. Okay, so let's all drill that a bit, and then we'll do some submission escape sparring. Again, sorry, we probably won't get that many rounds in today, but we'll do extra rounds. We'll do extra rounds on Saturday.